Okay, let's forget everything you've heard about motivational quotes and those get rich quick scams. Today, we're diving into something completely different. We're talking about the raw, unfiltered, and frankly, brutally honest wisdom of a self made titan, a guy named Felix Dennis. And listen, this isn't some pie in the sky theory. This is the actual playbook from a man who built a massive publishing empire literally from the ground up. Wow. Yeah, right out of the gate, you get a sense of his tone, don't you? He just doesn't pull any punches. His whole thing was that the one thing most of us are chasing, that steady, comfortable paycheck, is actually the biggest trap there is. And why? Well, because it's just too comfortable. It makes you soft. It completely kills your appetite for the kind of massive risks you have to take to build massive wealth. Now, I know what you're thinking. That's a bit much. But before you write him off, you really need to understand where this is coming from. We're talking about a man who personally built a fortune worth $750 million. Felix Dennis wasn't some online guru trying to sell you a course. Nope, he was a legit publishing mogul, the guy behind huge magazines like Maxim and The Week. He didn't just talk the talk, he actually lived this stuff. So, okay, if you're even thinking about going down this road, where do you even begin? Well, for Dennis, it's actually pretty simple. The entire journey, the whole thing, is built on one single, absolutely non-negotiable rule. And when I say it's important, well, he believed it was the only thing that mattered. And here it is. He was absolutely certain about this. You have to fight tooth and nail to keep 100% control of your company. Think about it. Every single percentage point of equity you give away, that's a chunk of your future fortune you are literally just handing over to somebody else. This is it. This is the bedrock, the non-negotiable foundation for everything else. This right here just lays out that salary trap perfectly. Look at the difference. When you're an employee, you're getting paid to build someone else's dream. Sure, it feels safe, it's predictable, but what it's really doing is killing your instinct for risk. The owner, though, they're living with constant risk and uncertainty. But, and this is the key, every ounce of their effort is going into building their own fortune. It's not even the same sport, let alone the same game. All right, let's say you're on board. You've decided to go for ownership. But taking that leap, well, that means you have to face the single biggest hurdle. And it's all in your head, that crippling fear of failure. Dennis was adamant that you have to face this thing head on. You have to build, like, your own mental suit of armor. And this is how you do it. This is such a powerful psychological trick. See, if getting rich becomes your entire identity, who you are as a person, then any failure is going to absolutely crush you. But what if you reframe it? What if you start seeing it as a high-stakes game you're playing? Suddenly, you can create some distance. It's what lets you survive the inevitable bad deals, the public ridicule, maybe even going bankrupt, all the stuff that Dennis pretty much guarantees is going to happen along the way. So how do you actually build this mental armor? You basically practice becoming emotionally detached. Almost robotic. You have to be resilient. That means making decisions fast, even if they might be wrong, because just sitting there doing nothing is always worse. It means you got to learn to let criticism and all that envy just roll right off your back. And maybe the most important part, you have to accept that failure isn't the end. Not even close. It's just a tough level in the game that you have to figure out how to beat so you can keep playing. Okay, so we've talked mindset, now let's talk action. And this is where things get really controversial. Because Dennis's next big idea, it just attacks one of the most sacred beliefs in the whole world of startups, the great idea. For him, ideas meant nothing. It was all about execution. Yeah, that one stings a little, right? I mean, we're all taught to worship the $1,000,000 idea. Dennis just flat out said, that's a myth. He thought ideas are a dime a dozen. They're everywhere. So if the big idea isn't the secret sauce, then what is? And this is his answer. This is so important. Real wealth doesn't come from some stroke of original genius. It comes from brilliant execution. His advice? Watch your rivals. See what's already working out there in the real world. Don't be afraid to just straight up copy a winning strategy. And then, this is the key part, do it better. Execute it faster, more efficiently, and with more style than anybody else. That's where the money is. So let's say you've done it. You've executed brilliantly, you've got your first win under your belt. So now what? Well, you can't just sit back and relax. According to Dennis, now's the time to think bigger. It's time to scale up from a single success into a real empire. But there's a process. First, at the very beginning, you need to have absolute tunnel vision. Your first business is your entire world. You pour every single ounce of your energy, all your capital, into making that one thing work. Make it stable, make it successful, no distractions, period. But the second, and I mean the second, that first basket is secure, you immediately start on the next one. This is all about not having all your eggs in, well, one basket. It's about smart diversification, managing your risk. That way, if one business goes under or the market totally shifts, you don't lose everything. You've built a much stronger, much more resilient foundation for your wealth.
Now, as you start to scale up, a whole new problem pops up. You just can't do it all yourself anymore. And that leads to a really important, maybe even uncomfortable question you need to ask.
And Dennis would say this is one of the toughest lessons for any entrepreneur, but it's absolutely essential. Your ego is your worst enemy when you're trying to grow. To get seriously rich, you have to accept that you need to find and hire people who are way, way smarter and more talented than you are at certain things. And that's what your job actually becomes. You're not supposed to be a manager, buried in spreadsheets all day. You're a leader. Your real job is to set the vision, to sniff out the next big opportunity, and, most important of all, to become a world-class talent scout. Find those brilliant, clever people, do whatever it takes to hire them, and then just get out of their way and let them do their thing. So let's recap. We've talked about ownership, beating fear, execution over ideas, and how to scale. But Dennis is super clear about something. This whole journey is brutal. It's painful, which really brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. Why? What's the point of all this money? Why even go through all that? Well, for him, it was never actually about the money. He saw money as just a thing, a neutral tool. The real prize, the one thing that all that effort gets you, the greatest luxury that tool can buy, is one simple word: freedom. And what did he mean by freedom? It's pretty simple, really. It's the power to wake up in the morning and decide for yourself, and only for yourself, what you're going to do with that day. It's not having to answer to a boss or a client or anyone. It's total ownership of your time, your decisions, your life. That was the whole point of the game. And that's really where this leaves us. Felix Dennis gives you the map, but he doesn't sugarcoat it. He tells you straight up that the journey is punishing. It's going to demand huge sacrifice, a lot of pain, and a level of focus most people just don't have. So the only question left, the one you have to answer for yourself, is this: is that prize, that absolute freedom, really worth the staggering price you have to pay to get it?